Hello everyone, Reverend619 here. How the devil are you? I am now going to be going over my build for Argenta. Now, there are some items on this build that are absolutely key to make her as busted as possible. There are some items that are so easily missable, I would highly recommend that you can replace them, but luckily these items are not key to the build. As usual, this build is for my play preferences. It's for playing through the game on unfair. Yes, there are many different alterations you can do, but this is going to be, for what my play style is, the most optimum route. I will also give some different options as we go along, but it's time to get in with the sizzle of the battle that has the mostest to give. And that is Argenta. I do use the mod that fixes abilities not going to 0 AP when they should. That's how it worked before 1.2, and the abilities where they changed it, yes, for balancing issues, also break some heroic actions, and I don't think they meant to break entire classes, so I do use that balancing mod. If you don't want to use that, I am going to show you some alternate weapons that you can use for it, or just suggest them. But let's get into it. So I go with Argenta with a soldier into Arch-Militant. I'll go over the gear before we do the early game, mid game, and end game for talents. But one of the most important helmets that you can get is in Act 2. It's called the Gunslinger's Albert. It grants the user's ranged attack extra damage based on percentage. So it's based on your rate of fire. So the higher rate of fire, the more you do. The rate of fire on this is 9. Each kill will actually increase its rate of fire. I am using gloves. That will increase its rate of fire. The soldier heroic action will increase rate of fire. The backpack will do extra damage based on rate of fire. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do. There's another backpack that just gives a straight +1. But, no, I prefer the other one. The boots that I've got on this one, whenever you perform a heroic act, you instantly heal and get 2 AP, which is pretty good if you've been given a pass turn. The necklace I use is flashlight meta. Whenever the wielder of the target is attack of opportunity, the attacker comes blinded for 1 round. The wearer will perform their lowest cost AP attack against this enemy, including attacks with ranged weapons. So you can sort of run into people and run out. How you really get away with that is the Harlequin trinket. Entirely missable, which is why I'm going to say the ones that can be replaced, which ones can keep. Which is every spent AP grants 2 MP to the wearer. Also, the wearer's movements are not affected by threat errors. You don't use X thing, and whenever the user dodges an attack of opportunity, they gain 10 momentum. That's quite big. The other one I put on there is the long range lens because it increases our range by our ballistic score bonus. I like to use the improved heavy bolter. Does a lot. I go for the Sororitas, so you have to do very specific options in her quest to get this version, otherwise you'll get the other version. Each critical hit or kill an enemy grants the wearer 5% critical hit chance, 5% critical damage. If that attack misses, the target resets the bonus. So again, this is pretty good. The second one I go over is Udix. I like to make it early game I like to use shotguns, late games I used to use flamethrowers, I always use pyromancers, so this is really helpful. Again, using stims, very important on this build, very good. And also using stuff like Tears of Repentance. You can also use armor reduction stuff, not as required on heavy. But the items you definitely need, Gunslinger's Helmet, for sure. To go into the heavy bolter, yes, you can use a higher rate burst fire bolt rifle if you don't want to use mods. The other thing that's going to be important is the Temperis Carapace Elite Backpack, and the third most important item is going to be the compensating gloves. Everything else you can change. You can change both trinkets, you can change the necklace, you can change the armor, you can even change the boots, you can change the weapons, but you want the helmet, you want the gloves, and you want the backpack for the highest rate of fire, and it will do a lot. On testing, I can kill, even in what current patch, the Shard, Urlon, and Daybreak in a single turn with just Argenta. So that's a long introduction. Let's get into the build. So let's get into the actual build, shall we? So Argenta is a soldier, and in the early game you really want to be using las rifles, because until you get her ballistic score up, it can actually be quite hard to land anything. So let's quickly go through the levels here. I like to go into demolitions with her because she has good agility, but again, any skill points, take what you want. There is a way that you can use Law Imperium to increase your armor with certain items and your critical damage to Xenos. But she starts with run and gun. This allows you to basically get 6 MP. Your next attack costs 1 AP less and does not provoke an attack of opportunity. it does not count towards the attack limits. You get another free attack, and you become winded. Basically, you suffer -10 to ballistic skill, and you can't use running gun until you are no longer winded until the end of the turn. So for the next level, I go into demolitions because, well, that's the skill I like to use. But then we get Revenant Slaughter. Revenant Slaughter is actually a really good ability. So what it does, the soldier immediately removes the winded effect. Until the end of combat, the soldier gains the following bonuses. 10 ballistic skill, your 5+2 times agility bonus critical damage, and you also get critical hit chance on a... it's just your agility bonus, critical hit chance. This ability becomes available after the soldier kills 3 enemies and the kill counter is not reset between rounds. You can lower that by 1. You go into Firearms Mastery. Basically, the soldier gains the ability to make a number of extra attacks equal to their weapon's rate of fire, minimum 2. Using the weapon attack that normally costs the least AP, these attacks do not spend AP. Until the end of the soldier's turn, their first attack against each new enemy automatically scores a critical hit. The soldier immediately reloads their current weapon. This is what's bugged. When you go into Heavy Gun or an Arch-Militant, for some reason your attack can't go below 1, which means this doesn't work when it's meant to be 0. That's why I used the mod to fix that. That's how it used to work, and I don't think it was intended because it breaks a few other abilities. Like, it does the same with sweep and special attacks and weapons if you take in the combat things in the common talents. Anyway, the first thing I like to get is Rapid Reload. Reloading costs 2 AP less, minimum 1. The first reload in combat does not cost AP. Useful. It's important to get her ballistic score up first so she can actually hit things. Like I said, you'll be using las rifles to lower enemy dodge. The next talent I get is Alacrity. Each shot fired by the soldier grants them +1 agility until the end of their next turn. More ballistic score. The first ability I get is Rapid Fire. The soldier's next range burst attack will have its base rate of fire doubled, but deal 25% less damage. All the shots will follow random trajectories. The higher ballistic score, the more straight line of cone fire that burst fire is still going to be. Next level, we get more agility, and we also do characteristic training ballistic skill. We want to get more into that. We then take Unfaltering Fire. Rapid Fire no longer reduces damage. More demolitions. I go Firearm Mastery Upgrade 2, which is until the end of combat, soldier's rate of fire is increased by 30%. With the Heavy Bolter, you can do full 60-round salvage. You can fire the entire clip in one burst fire if you stack up enough agility and ballistic score. The next one I take is Fired Up. Whenever the soldier deals damage, their critical damage is increased by 1% until the end of combat. Very useful. You're going to build that up like crazy. We get some more agility, and then the second ability I take is Concentrated Fire. This works on shotguns and flamethrowers. The next ranged area attack made by the soldier deals 140% more damage and has an additional 28% dodge reduction. That's actually 50 plus 10 times ballistic score for the extra damage, and 10 plus 2 times ballistic score for the dodge reduction. We then get some Perception. Perception is very important. You want to get ballistic score, agility, and Perception for this build. It lowers the enemy's dodge. Then I go into a Litany of Hatred. The devotee and their allies in the area of effect of War Hymn offer you a societal gain +2 damage for single shots and attacks for opportunity for 1 round. That +2 damage is actually willpower bonus divided by 2. You can buff that, so if you've dropped buffs on yourself, do that first. Make sure you're close to allies. We then take Swift Slaughter. Revenant Slaughter can be used after 2 kills instead of 3. This means we can proc that more. Good times. I then take Bolt Weapon Expert. Bolt weapons gain 10% armor penetration. Pretty useful. I take It Will Not Die here. Increases wounds by up to half the character's level. You can take Grenadier if you want, or you can even take Swift Movements. Very useful features to take here. I then start going into Law Imperium because I want some with Law Imperium. And the last upgrade I take to Firearm Mastery is number 3. Until the end of combat, all of the soldiers' attacks are 20% harder to dodge. Until the end of combat, the soldier's range attacks gains 10% armor penetration. Like I said, at the start of the game, you're going to want to use a las rifle, and you're probably going to use a shotgun. There is one that you can get in the chest if you have the collector's edition. As soon as you manage to get your ballistic score up and you find the first bolters and the new shot bolters that you get in Act 1, that's when you'll swap over to the bolters. You'll see plenty of shotgun upgrades. You can eventually go to a hand flamer and a sword if you really want to for early game, because that way you can attack when they're close to you, because until late game you don't really want to be taking attacks opportunity, but shotguns you can use at point blank range, which is why I like them. So that's going to be sort of your gear for early game. You can take anything that's going to help with your to hit at ranged attacks, and you can use medium or light armor because you're not going to have power armor to the end of the game. I like to use the Sin Skin because it increases my dodge, but whatever you find that you can use, just anything that ups ballistic to hit and helps with your dodge. So let's move on to the mid game where things start to come a little bit more alive. So we go to Arch-Militant. Arch-Militant gives us versatility. Whenever the Arch-Militant uses an attack that is different type from their previous attack, the Arch-Militant gains a stack of versatility. Valid attack types are single shot, melee attack, single target or burst, area melee, area ranged, or ranged burst. The Arch-Militant gains 3 weapon skill and ballistic score for every stack of versatility. If the Arch-Militant has 4 more stacks of versatility, the Arch-Militant deals an additional 10 plus weapon score bonus or 10 plus ballistic score bonus damage, whichever is highest. So you can stack up versatility by switching between single shots and area attacks, or even burst fire and flamethrower attacks, as with my build, and you'll build stacks of versatility. This will increase your ballistic score as well, which will increase our rate of fire. So you build up enough stacks, you're going to do some good things. So I start off with Reckless Rush. If the Arch-Militant immediately gains 11 MP. It's actually Arch-Militant's agility bonus plus 3. If the Arch-Militant has stacks versatility, they gain 3 more stacks versatility, which lasts until the end of their turn. So you get some early stacks boost, and you can move. I then take Always Ready. The Arch-Militant begins combat with 2 stacks versatility. You could take All Out here and then take this instead of All Out later, but I like to get those stacks early. You then get Steady Superiority. Until the end of combat, the Arch-Militant can make an additional attack each turn, including 1 additional attack on their turn this heroic act was used. The first attack after using this ability and each turn afterwards costs 0 AP. This bugs with Heavy Gunner, which is why, again, I use the mod. We then get our AP increase. We keep going up with a ballistic score, but then we get All Out. Whilst the Arch-Militant is under the effects of Reckless Rush, their attacks do not cost MP, so you can keep moving and shooting. This is big, this is important, this is why this is one of the best classes in the game. More ballistic score. We then get Wildfire, one of the best abilities in the game, along with Reckless Rush. The Arch-Militant's next attack this turn will cost 0 AP, again, this is why we need the mod, and will not count towards the attack limit this turn. This ability is reduced by 1 AP for every 4 stacks versatility, minimum 1. That might always meant to be only minimum 1, because this one doesn't bug out with the officer heroic action to set it to 0. I then take No Heresy. Imperial World characters gain 10% critical hit chance and 10% armor against Xenos or demonic creatures. Their allies gain half these bonuses. Nice. More demolitions, that's the skill of choice for it. But then we get Flash Fire. The cost of Wildfire is reduced by minus 1 AP for every 3 stacks of versatility instead of 4. It just makes things go faster. There are ways to actually proc it quicker with Bounty Hunter turn loops, which you'll see in my gameplay videos. I go over it a lot. We start getting some more agility up. I take swift movements here, but again, if you haven't taken it, Will Not Die Grenadier, you could also take that instead of swift movements here. I then go to Discipline. The Arch-Militant gains 1 stack of versatility whenever an ally grants the Arch-Militant an extra turn. Good. Next, more demolitions, more agility. I then get Steady Superiority 4 upgrade, which is you can use both the Soldier and the Arch-Militant heroic action, not in the same turn, but in the same combat. More Law Imperium. Critical versatility. The Arch-Militant gains 5 plus number of versatility stacks bonus to critical damage. Pretty good, because you're going to start updating your damage. This bonus is kept when the Arch-Militant uses Cautious Approach or Confident Approach. So that's very good to force those crits. More Perception. I then take Heavy Weapon Efficiency. Reduces the required strength value for heavy weapons by 25. We do need this. I then take Confident Approach. You could also take Kick instead of this. The Arch-Militant gains the Confident Approach effect until the end of combat, or until this ability is used again, or until Cautious Approach is used. Instead of the usual bonuses from versatility, the Arch-Militant gains 3% dodge reduction and parry reduction. It ignores 3% of the enemy's cover for each stack. This can be used with an Exemplar talent called Deadly Aim. All the Arch-Militant's attack scores critical hits, but the Arch-Militant's critical damage on those attacks is reduced by half. If the Arch-Militant already has 4 more stacks versatility, the Arch-Militant's attacks always deal maximum damage as long as the Arch-Militant keeps Confident Approach effect active. So you always crit, and you'll always do a medium roll, so you'll never get any low rolls. Come Steady. Whilst under the effect of Confident Approach, the Arch-Militant keeps half the usual bonuses from versatility, so you'll still keep half. Perception. We need more Perception, lower their dodge. More Law Imperium. I then get Heavy Gunner. The Arch-Militant's heavy weapon attacks cost -1 action point, minimum 1. Yeah, this was meant to stop it going to negatives, but it, like I said, this is kind of bugged. We then need 1 point of strength. We need that for the heavy gun that we use. You will get the heavy stubber in Act 3, which we will use before that. More perception. I then take breaking point. Heavy weapons deal +1 and 10% damage and ignore 2 deflection. Really good. And last one I take is Steady Superiority Upgrade 2. You get 2% bonus to critical hit chance for every attack, which is good. So this is where things start to change. You're going to get your heavy weapons. You'll start using the heavy stubber in Act 3. And you'll be doing a lot of burst fire. You can use the pair holsters and for pistols and the reload item, and you can just go out with the Daredevil pistol and the anti-tank pistol, and you can also one-turn every encounter. I have videos on that, and I explain how you can change that build over there, so do check those out. But this is going to be the middle game, and this is probably going to be where your build is most alive and most fun. Exemplar, you just get juicier. So let's talk about rounding this off and going into the mid game. Well, end game from the mid game, shall I say. So, the first thing we take is Extermination. Any damage the character deals increases by 1 for every attack they have made this combat. Yeah, it just ups your base damage every time you attack. It's pretty good. Muzzle velocity. The first hit for each ranged burst attack deals additional damage equal to the weapon's rate of fire. That's good. It's good. We then get more demolitions. Accustomed Glory. Whenever the Arch-Militant or their ally uses a heroic act or a desperate measure, the Arch-Militant gains +1 and 10% damage on all attacks to the end of combat. More good, more stacks. Some ballistic score. We then take Overpower. This is huge. When firing heavy weapons, critical hit chances increase by 9% and critical damage by 27%. It's ballistic score bonus and 3 times ballistic score bonus for those two formulas. This is huge, especially with Arch-Militant. It's so strong. I then take Controlled Shot. You could take something else here, but the reason I take Controlled Shot here is to abuse Ghost Helm, so I can shoot my ally and they can get +60 psi rating. Then we take Demolition. Deadly Aim. If the character's dodge reduction is higher than the enemy's dodge before applying heavy, medium, and arm penalties, the character's damage against the enemies increased by 1% for every 5% difference between their dodge reduction and the enemy's dodge. Confident Approach and the perception bonuses. That's why we were doing that. Cleansing Faith. Melee, flame, and melter attacks against demons and psychers deal additional +8 damage, which is actually 2 times willpower. And gain 24% armor penetration, which is 6 times willpower. Such attacks against Xenos deal an additional willpower bonus and gain 3 times willpower bonus. This is kind of bugged, and you can use it on las weapons and flamers, and it seems to work on everything. So yeah, good times. Some people do take this early and use las builds, which you can also do with this build, like when I took some of the contents earlier. Ballistic score. More of that, more good. Demolition Engineer. The soldier uses demolition instead of intelligence when determining additional damage dealt with ranged area attacks. This ups our fire damage. Deals 5% more damage for every 10 points demolition instead of 5% for every 10 points intelligence. Good. Easier to boost up. So I take Devastating Attack. The Arch-Militant's next attacks, if it hits, will cause all targets to make a toughness resistance test at a -18 penalty, which is from our ballistic score bonus or weapon score bonus. If failed, if the target suffers an effect based on the type attacked. So impact damage knocks target prone. We're not using impact. Piercing and rending damage, which we are, inflicts bleeding and slowed on the target till the end of combat. So now with executions, that's even better. Energy and other damage inflicts blinded on the target until the end of combat. Power swords and axes count as both. More agility. Breaking attack. Devastating attack also reduces the target's armor by 7% and toughness by -10 to the end of combat. Doesn't stack. Still useful. Good for boss killing. Flame Weapon Expert. Flame Weapon attacks cost -1 AP less to use, minimum 1 AP. Again, this will also heavy gun bug. Blah, 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 bug. More Lore Imperium. Critical Velocity. The character's critical chance and critical damage are increased by 5% of their dodge. usable, but you can swap this one out. Because you do swap to heavy armor, you kind of use it less. So in that case, I would actually suggest you swap this out for degraded defense. So that means your allies will do more damage based on every 6 points of damage that you did with your heavy gunner. Next, AP increase, more stuff. Then Wreck and Ruin. After the soldier deals damage to 3 different enemies, the soldier gains 28% more damage for their next attacks in the current combat. It's 10 plus 2 times ballistic score bonus. Law Imperium next. Tenderize. Enemies damaged by the soldier's area attack suffers plus 5 damage from the next attack that hits them. So you can flame attack, burst fire, big damage. Last few points I put into Medicaid because it's useful. Dependable. The Arch-Militant gains a number of versatility stacks bonus to armor. They also use this when using cautious or confidence approach. More agility, more perception, more Medicaid. Pinpoint accuracy. The character ignores bliss score divided by 2 points of the enemy's deflection. Obviously buffs increase this. Unpredictable. The soldier gains 11% critical hit chance. This bonus is double against enemies which the soldier has cover from. 3 plus agility bonus. Adaptability. Gaining stacks versatility increase critical hit chance, plus 5 until the end of next turn. You can take this much earlier, but I take it round now. Get some more Medicaid. Ingenious. Enemies that were forced to make a resistant test by the Arch-Militant will make the resistant test with any source at minus 26% penalty at the end of combat. This is so we can stack the bleed from devastating attack. This one, you can very much switch out Ingenious here. It depends what you'd really want. Point blank is useful. All soldiers' area attacks gain 32% armor penetration, ignore 4 deflection when you use close to the thing. You can take Grenadier here. You can even take for warning, so controlled shot costs less. You could take Fortress. One of my favourite is enough bullets for everyone. The soldier's second attack in this turn deals plus 21% more damage to enemies that have not suffered damage from the soldier this turn, but you need to be going between different enemies. Camaraderie is another option as well, but it's 14% extra damage to enemies when you have allies, but you need to be close to your allies. Next, Litany of Purification. All enemies in the area of effective war him or Furious Stride will gain plus 1 stacked of Disturbed. Enemies that are adjacent to the devotee get plus 2. All demons in the area suffer damage equal to momentum, and it's restored to the devotee whilst using this ability. We next take Entrench. Entrench has an amazing little abuse that I went over in my Irida video, which is you can metabolic overcharge to your soldier, use Entrench to go back, and then on your turn, the soldier immediately spends, so on your next turn, basically run and gun, you'll get back all that AP and MP plus 1 additional AP, and you won't take the damage from it, so it's an extra free turn with more stuff, so it's pretty useful. Perception. Cataclysm. All damage dealt by this character is increased by 3% until the end of combat for every new enemy damaged. You can clear whole battlefield, so you can build that up quite a bit. You could also take something like Shot Through, so you get more over penetration, but you don't really need it with this. You can take Perfection under Fire, but the stats, again, you don't really need them. Like the other stuff you get, probably not the best. Eager Bow is actually a very good option, so you could actually switch this in. That is one of the ones that I would recommend. Last one is on the double. The next use of Run and Gun when used after Entrench grants 8 additional movement points. Very useful. Last one, AP increase. And that will actually cover us all the way up to endgame. So yeah, so that is our lovely Lady Argenta, and that is her build. Like I went over earlier with the items that you could swap. The playstyle, again, it does have a few ways that you can do it, but if you're curious about any of the combos or the setups, do go back and watch my older videos. I did show my blind unfair run where I use this build, and then I showed my second run where I knew what I was doing with both my pyromancy builds, and I'm currently doing a grim dark run with these builds. And again, I'm doing daily uploads to try and get that out there and to, you know, just help get more useful information on YouTube, because there's just too much misinformation and people putting out very misleading builds and lying about what they're capable of. And so it'd just be nice that people have something useful to use. There's also the spreadsheet, and which is updated by the community. But thanks for stopping by. Now, have a good one.